Peace, you guys. Welcome back to Healing Her Shadows, where we navigate the complexities of healing from pain, trauma, and toxic environments with compassion and courage. I'm your host, Big Princess, and today we're tackling a topic that sits at the heart of many of our struggles in guilt and shame, aka guilt and shame. Guilt and shame often go hand in hand, especially for those of us who were raised in narcissistic environments. We feel guilty about setting boundaries. We may not even like doing it. It may be something foreign to us because of what we've been through, or maybe you feel ashamed of not being enough for someone. These emotions can be suffocating, keeping us stuck in cycles of self-doubt and pain. But here's the truth. Guilt and shame don't have to control your life. By understanding where they come from and learning to release them, you can step into a space of self-acceptance and freedom. And that's exactly what we'll explore in this episode today. So, grab your popcorn, get your drinks, get your notepad and your pen, lean back, kick your feet up, and let's start. So let us first begin with defining guilt and shame. Because while they often feel similar, they're not the same. Guilt, by definition, is the feeling that you've done something wrong. It's basically tied to actions. I've made a mistake. Oh, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I think about doing this prior? Shame, on the other hand, is feeling that there's something wrong with you. Shame is tied to your identity. It's I am the mistake. I will never be good enough because of who I am. Guilt can be healthy in small doses. It is exactly what helps us take accountability and make amends. But shame is toxic. Shame tells us that we're unworthy of love and belonging. Guilt lets us know, hey, you made a mistake. Double back, get your shit together. But shame puts you in a state of mind that you'll never be good enough. Oh, I can't compare to them. I'd never be able to do what they can do. I would never be able to be loved like how they're loved. When you've been in an abusive or narcissistic environment, guilt and shame often get twisted together like thorny roses. Maybe you were made to feel guilty for expressing your needs or ashamed for being yourself when you're around certain individuals or if you expressed a desire to them. Over time, these emotions become internalized and they will shape how you see yourself and the world. It will also begin to shape how you respond to certain relationships. So you have to be sure to avoid relationships where when you voice how you're feeling about something and someone makes you feel less than for it. It's very, very dangerous and detrimental to our spirits and our souls. Now let's talk about how guilt and shame can be used as tools of control in abusive relationships. Because this is not just something that we can feel or be enacting towards ourselves. This isn't just interpersonal, okay? This can be very external as well. Guilt is often used in manipulation forms. See, narcissists like to use guilt to keep you in line. For example, a parent might say, after all I've done for you, this is how you repay me? I gave you life. I didn't have to do this. Or maybe it's a partner. Maybe they might accuse you of being selfish for setting boundaries. Maybe they might get upset with you because you tell them, hey, I don't like when you do this. Over time, you start questioning yourself if you allow for these boundaries to be crossed. It can be, am I being too harsh? Am I the problem? Maybe I am ungrateful. Maybe I do need to be more grateful to them for giving me life. In regards to shame can be used in forms of control. Now, shame goes very, very, very deep. It's not just about what you do. It's about who you are. Again, it's tied to identity. So an abuser might criticize your personality, your appearance, or even your feelings. I've had exes that would compare me to other people that they would have been with past and prior, or even at times to say, why are you so sensitive? Why are you always thinking about things? You can't allow for someone to make you believe that you're fundamentally flawed. Because when you do that, that will keep you dependent on others' approval. You will consistently and forever walk around throughout this life on this planet, looking at other people and wondering, well, why don't I have what they have? Why don't I think like they do? Why don't I move like they do? Will begin to break you down. That alone will break down your self-worth as a person. And that cycle is incredibly damaging. But recognizing it is the first step towards breaking free. Remember, guilt and shame aren't proof that you did something wrong or that you were bad, that you don't measure up. They are reflections of someone else's manipulation. So you're probably thinking, big princess, like, okay, you're telling me all these things, but how do I start letting go of these heavy emotions? What do I do? You keep talking to me about these things. Where are the results? Where are the solutions needed? I got you. Just sit back, get your notepad and your pen, because this is where it comes in. The first thing you got to do is identify the source. Ask yourself, where is this guilt or shame coming from? Is it rooted in something that I did? Is it tied to someone else's expectations of me? Did it come from someone else? Now, when you ask these questions, you'll often realize that it's not your burden to carry. A lot of times with my clients, I'll let them know, you're still hearing the voices of your exes. You're being haunted by the spirit of your trash ass ex. And I say that with all due respect to you, not to your trash ass ex. You're literally carrying their ideals, their mindsets, the things that they said to you, because you intook it so much. And at the time, unfortunately, you were a jellyback. You didn't really have any boundaries. So because you were a little bit spineless, and it's okay because we've all been there, but because you were a little bit spineless, you took on their ideals. And that's where number 2 comes in. See, you're going to challenge that narrative. Guilt and shame thrive on unexamined beliefs. So when you're sitting there feeling guilty for saying no because you put up a boundary with someone, ask yourself, why do I believe I have to say yes to every goddamn thing? Who taught me that shit? Really think about, why do you feel that if you say no to someone, especially someone who deserves it, why is it that you feel when you say no that something is wrong with that? Who taught you these beliefs? Because questioning these beliefs helps you see that they're not absolute truths, especially when you start going against yourself and having to question and see, why do I feel this way? And this brings us into self-compassion. You have to practice self-compassion. Imagine you're talking to a friend who feels the way that you do. Imagine your homeboy or your homegirl, they come to you and you're like, this person has been treating me like XYZ and I'm really tired of it. And I really don't know what to do. What would you say to them? Cut that bitch off. Nothing, cut that bitch off. Exactly, right? Okay, so you need to be just as kind and assuring to yourself as you would to a friend. You have to give yourself the same love that you would give out. That is the first step to being able to being a better person for yourself. Self-compassion is the most powerful antidote to shame. And with speaking about that antidote, nitty gritty. And when I say we have to get into the nitty gritty, we have to speak about setting boundaries without motherfucking apologies. We've spent too much goddamn time apologizing. Even when we've done nothing wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. We get bumped into. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone cuts us off to speak over us while we are expressing our feelings. Oh, I'm sorry. No, cut that shit out. If guilt arises when you set boundaries, that lets you know that, yes, you've been a spineless jellyback, but it also reminds yourself that boundaries are an act of self-respect. You have not been self-respecting yourself, so now it's time to do so. You are not responsible for other people's feelings or reactions whenever you start taking up for yourself. So fucking what if they start feeling offended because you're sticking up for yourself? Now, I'm not saying to go around just telling people, I don't like you, your breath stink, the back of your neck is ridiculous. That's not what I'm saying to do. But if someone is constantly crossing boundaries with you, if someone is doing something to you that makes you feel a way, you need to stick up for yourself and let them know you are responsible for your well-being. So if that means you putting someone in their place, so be it. Again, you are not responsible for other people's feelings or reactions. That's bullshit. The only person that you need to be worried about their emotions, honestly, would be your children. But right now, we're not here for those dynamics. We're speaking in regards to narcissistic and abusive relationships. The fifth thing that I'm going to bring up to you guys, and this is very, very, very important. Reframe mistakes as growth. If you have guilt from past actions, that's okay. Try to reframe those mistakes as opportunities to learn from. And I say that again, try to reframe those mistakes as opportunities to learn from. Look back at it. Look back at that relationship where maybe you might have begged for someone who did not deserve to be begged from. I know you're like, damn, why the fuck did I do that? It's okay. Take time to sit back and look at how you've grown. Instead of saying I failed, instead of saying what the fuck was I doing, say I grew. I see better. I see clearly now that the rain is gone. My eyes are open, okay? Perfection isn't the goal, people. Remember, perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. So let's get practical. We're going to do some exercises right now that will help release guilt and shame, because I've given you guys the info. I've given you guys the nitty gritty, but you guys are not going to have any progress with this if we don't put some exercises into it, right? We can't be no weak bitches out here. Okay. So first of all, we need to have a guilt journal. At the end of each day, write down anything you feel guilty about, then ask yourself, why the fuck did I feel guilty about that in the first place? Is this guilt even justified? If it is truly justified, what can I do to make amends? What can I do to solve this so it doesn't happen again? And if it's not justified, what belief or expectation is this guilt tying me to? Why the hell am I placing myself in the corner when I don't belong to be here? You do this, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, if you do this diligently over time, you will start to see the patterns and shift your perspective. You will no longer be sitting in that boat of guilt and shame. You will then be where you need to be. Okay? Amen. All right. Now will bring me to my second sector, which is, again, shame. We've been talking about this the whole time. I hope you guys haven't forgotten, because I haven't. We spoke about the guilt journal, but now we need to do shame visualization. Now, I need for you to put whatever the hell you have in your hands right now, put it down. If you're driving, don't do no funny shit, okay? Just don't park the car. Wait until you are at an opportune time to do this. Or if you want to park your car, go ahead and park it. Pull over in the parking lot. It ain't like you're doing shit right now anyway. I need for you guys to close your eyes and picture shame as a heavy object, as a physical heavy object. I know you're like, oh, here go Princess again, always telling us to imagine something. Well, use your fucking imagination. This is exactly what's going to heal you. That's your problem right there. You're too busy questioning and not doing it. So I need you to picture shame. Picture it as a physical object. Picture it heavy. Now, what does it look like? Is it a dark cloud? Is it murky? Does it stink? What does it feel like to you? Does it feel sticky? Does it feel gritty? Does it feel rough? Now imagine releasing it. Imagine chucking that bitch like a hot potato. Maybe you throw it into the ocean. Maybe it was a heavy chain that you tossed into the deep seas and you watched it just sink. Maybe it was a dark, murky cloud. Maybe it was a fart cloud, if you will, and you watch it dissolve off into sunlight. Let yourself feel the relief of letting that go. Don't sit here and be laughing at what I'm saying. Take it into account. Seriously. Think about that and then let it be released. Now, of course, you're going to have to practice this. You're going to have to practice this often. I'm not expecting you to get it right now on the first try. If you do, congratulations. Claps for you. I'm proud of you. But if you don't, it doesn't mean you're behind. Visualization isn't something that it happens easily for people unless you're a daydreamer. Something, like myself, very creative. But I digress. So guilt and shame are heavy burdens. We all know that, but they're not permanent. And that is something that most people don't know. By understanding where they come from and practicing self-compassion, you can release their hold on your life. I want to leave you guys with this thought. You are not defined by your mistakes, nor by the narratives others imposed upon you. You are defined by your resilience, your perseverance, your courage, and your willingness to heal. So I want to give you guys a great thanks for spending time with me today. I know it's been a while, but we're back in action. If this resonated with you guys, please share it with someone who might need it. please feel free to come back to it and listen to it. And don't forget to subscribe. My tongue today. Don't forget to subscribe to Healing Her Shadows so you never miss an episode. Next week, we will be exploring forgiveness, both for others and for ourselves. A topic that often feels impossible, but can be deeply liberating. We all need a little bit of forgiveness, baby. Until then, be gentle with yourself. You're doing the work, and that's enough. We're not here to be perfect, remember. We're just here to make progress. I love you. Stay blessed. Stay moisturized. Stay hydrated. And keep on doing you, baby. Peace.